Olá malta, sejam muito bem-vindos aqui a mais uma React Weekend no domingo. Como é que vocês estão? Estou à espera que vocês me respondam. Como é que vocês estão? Espero que esteja tudo bem. Então, no vídeo de ontem da React Weekend, nós estivemos a ver um vídeo do canal Wired, de há 3 anos atrás, em que um diretor de videojogos respondeu a algumas perguntas de fãs de jogos no Twitter. Mas agora vamos voltar ao assunto God of War 2018. Ainda vai sair muito vídeo de God of War, ok? Aqui no canal. Eu atualmente já lancei, não é já lancei, já tenho 3 episódios prontos de God of War Ragnarok. Eu agora vou fazer uma breve pausa em Ragnarok para trazer outros jogos, porque eu ainda preciso de vídeos de terror, ou seja, estas streams que vêm agora vai ser de terror. No vídeo 2 da React Weekend nós iremos reagir a um vídeo em que todas as falas da Jormungandr, que é a World Serpent, finalmente foram traduzidas para inglês e vamos saber finalmente o que é que ela quis dizer para nós durante a história de God of War 2018. Mas já sabem, deixem o vosso like se vocês gostam deste tipo de conteúdos. Podem sempre comentar o que é que querem que eu reaja aqui para o canal a seguir, ok malta? E antes de mais, subscrevam-se ativando o sininho das notificações para não pararem de receber notificação de quando irá sair o próximo vídeo aqui no canal. Posto isto, vamos avançar e a reagir a todas as falas da Jormungandr que finalmente foram traduzidas para inglês.
One of the biggest mysteries that remain from God of War 2018 is the official translation of Jormungandr's dialogue, an ancient giant who speaks a dead tongue that only Mimir can understand. God of War fans have always been ready to translate all sorts of Norse runes found throughout the game in order to scrape some lore we might have missed. But something like Jormungandr's speech still remains a mystery, that is, until today. Recently I became aware that the official script for God of War 2018 was leaked months ago. I talked about why this script is a big deal in my previous video, and today I wanted to focus on that age-old mystery regarding Jormungandr, and of course, the infamous horn moment. So without any more delays, here's what Jormungandr
Verdade, até hoje ainda estou a pensar quem é que foi a personagem que quando estávamos a ir a ter com a Freya, quem é que chamou a Jormungandr? Quem? O caralho! Não, estava a brincar. Mas quem?
really says in God of War 2018.
Stay calm, boy!
I am! This is great!
It speaks?
Mom said he's friendly!
What is it saying?
I don't know! That was amazing!
You want me to ask him?
No. Our only concern is your name.
Alright, wish me luck. Ooh, ha, ha, ha. You envy me. I've still got it, lads. He remembers me. Why, you... Oh, no, that's not right. Makuna huntun kun. Wow. Eko no tun novo. the pain of your loss. He will help you. Ethnium folklore. Curious.
This is statue lost to us.
He thinks it might still be in his stomach. And he's open to letting you roll into his mouth to look inside.
Hold tight and watch your balance.
The board shifting! I'm gonna...
I'll have you.
Well, there you have it, guys. The official translation of what Jormungandr says in God of War 2018. Was it worth it? At first, it might seem like the answer is no. Jormungandr here doesn't really seem to say anything we didn't know already. There are some interesting details, however. The first time we encounter him, Jormungandr continues the pattern Kratos consistently experiences since he leaves his home, the recognition of his godhood by others.
I know you're a god. Not of this realm, but there's no mistaking it.
He doesn't know what you are.
I would keep it that way.
And now, thanks to the script, we know that Jormungandr also referred to Kratos as a god. Something else that's interesting is that when Kratos meets Jormungandr the second time, he asks Kratos if he has returned to sacrifice the axe again. But why? The first time Kratos sacrificed the axe to the lake, it had a dual purpose. One, to wake up Jormungandr from his slumber, and two, to imbue the axe with E-tier venom. But why would Kratos need to sacrifice the axe again? Is there something Jormungandr isn't telling us here? Aside from playing fetch with Kratos, I really don't see another reason why the axe would need to be sacrificed again. If you think you have a good lore reason, I'm all ears. Now, something else that's interesting about Jormungandr's dialogue is that he hints that he might have eaten Thor's statue in order to hide Mimir's eye from Odin. At one point, Jormungandr tells Mimir that Kratos and Atreus need to get a special chisel, plus learn a special rune to travel to Jotunheim. But he also says, another step awaits. This could only mean Mimir's missing eye, that was also needed to travel to Jotunheim. So it seems that Jormungandr didn't simply eat Thor's statue in a fit of rage. Lastly, we also now know what Jormungandr says when Baldur beats him up. He simply says, impossible. At first I thought this was a big deal, as in there was a prophecy that Baldur couldn't beat Jormungandr or something like that. But now I think that this is just Jormungandr being amazed at how this tiny person can still beat him up. Just like how we reacted when Baldur beat up Kratos in the intro fight.
True.
But aside from these little details, there isn't really anything of note in Jormungandr's dialogue. Which is very odd because this whole fascination with Jormungandr's dialogue started after Cory Barlog said this in a couple of interviews.
There's a bunch of stuff in the World Serpent talks. You have to rely on Mimir as giving you all the information, and he totally doesn't.
So Cory here says that Mimir's not being completely honest about the things Jormungandr is saying. But now that we have the official script, we can see that this isn't the case. Everything Jormungandr says to Mimir, he relays to Kratos and Atreus without any redactions. So what's up with this discrepancy between Cory and the script? I think I know what's going on here, but first I need to tell you about what I discovered about the mystery of who blew the horn. By far the biggest mystery in the God of War series. So what does the script have to say about it? Absolutely nothing. And I'm not just talking about revealing the answer. The script literally doesn't make a mention of this event even happening. The last line of dialogue the script has after Atreus falls ill is this one.
I've seen it in mortals that some conflict of the mind expresses itself as an ailment of the body. Never in a god. But a god believing himself mortal. I can only imagine.
After this, in the game we get the whole sequence involving the horn where Kratos and Mimir have a small conversation, which should have been recorded in the script.
Somebody just called the serpent.
but the script completely skips it and goes straight to Kratos banging on Freya's door.
Freya! Open the door! We need your help! Woman, do you hear me? It is urgent!
So, what happened to this section of the game? Why wasn't it recorded in the script? One possibility that you might be thinking of is that Santa Monica didn't include it to avoid spoiling the surprise. But that doesn't make much sense because they could have still recorded the lines Kratos and Mimir say during this event without telling us who blew the horn. As a God of War fan commented in my previous video, the script could still describe the event without actually spoiling it. So why was the whole sequence removed then? I think I know exactly what happened. Some fans have already proposed the theory that the section of the horn was clearly added to the game after the script was already written, which explains why you see it in the game but not in the script. This means that the horn mystery was a late addition in the story. The question is, why was it added later? And I think I know the answer. Most likely this happened as a result of a late story development during production. And I think this can only mean one thing: the reveal of Loki.
I guess there's just one thing I don't understand. My name on the wall. The giants called me Loki?
Corey, was that something that you guys had like sort of from the start? Did that develop as you were going on?
I'd love to be so convincing.
Yeah.
I totally knew that from the start. No, it was not part of the original plan. Matt Sophos and Rich Gobert, the two main writers on the project, had actually come into my office after about a year and a half, 2 years maybe, and said, I have a cool idea. And I said, all right, pitch it. And their pitch was exactly the line in there. He said, all right, so imagine they just looked at the mural and they're walking back up and they've spread the ashes and they're coming back, and he says, okay, so one thing I don't understand. Mom was a giant, so that means I'm part giant and I'm part god. But the weird thing is, on the wall, they kept getting my name wrong. They kept calling me Loki. And just that one pitch alone, I was like, oh man, that's amazing. Why didn't I think of that? I was like, yeah, we have to do this.
So in this podcast with IGN, we learned that originally Atreus was not Loki. This was an idea that Matt Sophos and Rich Gobert suggested in the later stages of developing the story, but Corey liked it so much that it was added to the game. And I think this change prompted Corey to go back and make some changes to the story in order to set things up for the future. One of them was a soft retcon of what Jormungandr really said, and the other was the addition of the horn sequence. In the case of Jormungandr, I think Corey had to go back and retcon what Jormungandr really said, because after this change in Atreus' real identity, Jormungandr wasn't simply talking to a fellow giant. He was now talking to his father. So I think the reason there's a discrepancy between Corey and the script is because by the end of development, Corey was already making changes to accommodate for this new lore development. But to be fair, at least in the case of what Jormungandr really said, it's still very possible that Corey simply didn't want to spoil the surprise even in the script. This, however, is a little more difficult to argue for when it comes to the absence of the horn sequence from the script. I think this could only mean that the sequence was added much later in development, which is why it isn't found in the script. And if my theory that this sequence was added after Atreus became Loki is true, it can only mean one thing. The person who blew the horn was none other than future Atreus, something I've been seeing for a while. Again, this is just a theory that stems from the very limited information we have about the development of this game. But I think we put this discrepancy between the game and the script alongside the late development of the Loki reveal, everything starts to make sense. Now you might be thinking, who the hell cares, Captain Cuba? Only you and a small group of casual fans care about the more developments that happen in Games Santa Monica. The truth is that these mysteries make them this exciting because Santa Monica is now leaving the most behind. Now, if I'm being honest, I totally understand where these fans are coming from. Hell, I've been one of these fans since God of War Ragnarok release. Because if it's true that both Kratos and Atreus are leaving the most behind, then these two mysteries start to lose their appeal. Because how exactly is Corey going to link the horn to, say, Roth and Egypt? It just doesn't make any sense. But I think all of us have come to these mysteries after God of War Ragnarok release with a faulty assumption that if we follow up to its logical conclusion, Luke is very uninterested about how someone can answer these mysteries in the future. I think I've noticed with them that he is a lot of misunderstandings that we currently have about these mysteries. I don't want to say anything else yet because this is still a video idea that I'm thinking about. After today's video, I have to get back to work on my 2 Curtis Paradox from God of War 2, and maybe after that I'll tackle this video idea I just teased. So if you're enjoying this new batch of God of War videos I've been making, make sure to subscribe to stay notified when I upload. But that's gonna be all for today, guys. Let me know what you thought about today's video. Are you satisfied with all the information we got from the script? Or do you think it wasn't enough? Whatever your thoughts and theories are, make sure to leave them in the comment section below. As always, I want to thank all of my YouTube members for supporting the channel monthly. I would also like to thank all of you who like and share my videos. It may not seem like much, but trust me, it really does.
Okay.
And with that said, thanks for watching. And remember, go forth in the name of Olympus. What?
Ok. Então, malta, há aqui uma coisa que ele disse que me pôs a pensar, que a cena da corneta, digamos assim, foi então adicionado depois. E a cena é que o Mimir havia algumas partes da história em que já não nos estava a traduzir o que ela estava a dizer. Mas eu talvez vá ainda fazer uns episódios especiais de God of War 2018 na dificuldade Give Me the God of War. Então malta, espero muito que vocês tenham gostado, ok? Desculpem eu querer despachar esta React Weekend mesmo no finalzinho, porque como já podem ouvir, já chove para caraças. Então malta, espero muito que vocês tenham gostado desta React Weekend. Espero que vocês deixem o vosso like, subscrevam-se e ativem o sininho das notificações para não pararem de receber notificação de quando irá sair o próximo vídeo. Então, um bom domingo, que tenham tido um bom fim de semana e vemo-nos para mais React Weekend para a semana, em que vai ser uma React Weekend especial de terror. Fiquem atentos. Então, beijos e abraços. Até à próxima semana.